Hi, welcome to another episode of MCC Connects, the program that connects you to Middlesex Community College. I'm Mary Jo Griffin. Joining me now is Executive Director of Public Affairs, Patrick Cook. And last year, Patrick, you were here with me because you had authored your first book, and it was the 40th anniversary book of Middlesex Community College. And this year, right there, you authored a book near and dear to my heart, Sully, The Words, Wit, and Wisdom of Paul Sullivan, my husband and former radio talk show host, former Lowell Sun columnist, former instructor, adjunct professor at Middlesex Community College, dad, husband, wonderful man.
World problem solver.
World problem solver. And it was to commemorate the 5th year of his passing. So this is just going to be a little conversation because you were the author of it. What's interesting is people would say, how is Patrick the author if it's a collection of columns that Paul Sullivan wrote for the Lowell Sun? So answer that question.
What we need to do is we need to frame those columns. As you're aware, but the viewers may not be aware, we had to take a look at 17 years worth of his columns that he wrote for the Lowell Sun. And once we took those columns, we had to kind of read through each of them and kind of develop the themes on where this book could fall in terms of chapters. And then we sorted them into these piles that would fall under certain umbrellas, like an all-encompassing thing, if there were columns about Lowell, or if there were columns about politics, things like that. And we had to split them up into those columns. Once we did that, there was no way we were going to reproduce 1,700 pages of a book. If we did, it was going to look like the prop you have to your right there. It would have to be that big because it was just too many. So we had to whittle it down to a manageable number of about 100 of them. And then for each of those chapters, then we had to kind of really to establish the theme that each of the chapters was going to speak to.
We had a wonderful book launching on
September
23rd, where we were able to honor our great sponsors, and I'd like to say who our sponsors were. Chris and Jean Egan from the Egan Foundation, Elkin and Donna McCallum, the Demoulas Foundation, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Massachusetts, John and Linda Shemley, Chancellor Martin Meehan, the Lowell Sun Charities, Lowell 5 Cent Savings Bank, Eastern Bank, Enterprise Bank, Lowell Bank, Howell Communications, the Durkin Company, and All Sports and Heroes in Lowell here.
Well,
without them, this book never would have happened. And most of their funds are going to the Paul Sullivan Leadership Institute, which we will get to in a minute. But the sale of the books are going to a new scholarship.
That's what was tremendous about this. The fact that we had that kind of support from our friends out there in the community allowed us to cover the costs and the production of this book, but it also helped endow the Leadership Institute named for Paul at the college moving forward. But what Paul's family had asked for specifically was to use this to launch a new scholarship in Paul's name at the college. So because of that, we announced it at the book launch, and literally every single penny that's made from proceeds of this book go directly to that scholarship fund. So it's a tremendous benefit for us to be able to have that. So it's not like the college is making extra money. It's all going directly into a scholarship to help Middlesex students. And as you know, it's not just the Middlesex students who are at the top of the GPA, because that's not where Paul would have been. But he was trying to find students from within the mix who maybe just needed somebody to take an investment in them and help them along.
Paul and the family. I think you and I both realized in doing this book that at the beginning of his writing, when all else failed, he wrote about his family.
With one exception. As we looked over those years of columns, I mean, in the early years, he wrote quite a bit about his children's trips to the dentist or to get a haircut or to the beach or to swimming lessons. And yet for 17 years worth of columns, I never once found a column about you.
Yes, and my daughters would tell you too that I was off limits.
Paul's daughter had talked about this specifically. Carrie spoke at the book event we did and talked about how she was always afraid that her exploits were going to end up not just being shared with the immediate family, but being shared with the 50,000+ readers of the Lowell Sun at the time. So she was on her best behavior, I think, for those early years. But those columns stopped almost at a certain point when Paul started developing a different voice as he got older. The columns about the family's exploits really were very heavy on the front end for the first 4 to 6 years maybe. And then they really subsided later on, and he was moving much towards bigger political landscape stories and a lot more of the human interest pieces. And the special causes that people would ask him for some help with getting attention for a charity golf tournament or a fundraiser that was going to be happening this weekend. He did quite a number of those in the later years.
I think those 2 points were twofold in that when he got into Boston radio is when he broadened his political views, and he wrote more worldwide or nationwide as opposed to the local.
That was one of the more difficult parts we had to deal with to contend throughout this process, was picking which of the columns was going to make it in, because there were so many of the features that he had done with folks that you didn't want to say that this feature wasn't as important as this one, but you had to try to just capture the flavor of the writings. And that was a real ordeal of going through the keep and don't use pile, because it was, you didn't want to offend anybody, because they would think, oh, why didn't they use this particular column? But it was just really tough to try to capture everything. And so we tried to really kind of use things that summed up a pretty good theme of it. And, we had, as you know, there was a lot of folks that helped support this along the way from within the college. We had, a tremendous, one of our faculty members, Gene Hammond, did a lot of the graphic layout, and Jennifer Aradia did a lot of the design and the colorings and the different setups.
Well, I do know he used to like to tell a story that when Kendall Wallace, the now chairman of the Lowell Sun, offered him a job back in the early 1990s, Paul said, okay, but I can't start for 3 weeks. And when you asked him why couldn't you start for 3 weeks, he said he had to go learn how to type. He had never sat at a typewriter before.
One of the things we talked about in the book, which was really an eye-opener for me, was the whole maturation process of Paul, not just as a writer, not just as a political pundit, but as the voice that he became. And again, if you look at them in the earlier stages, it was very raw Sully. It was really not just a copy, but yeah, it was kind of just, you throw things up against the wall to see what would stick. And he only developed his voice over a period of, really over 15 plus years of kind of establishing what he could do and how powerful he could use that voice to be on, especially on the political landscape.
How many books have we sold?
I don't know what the current tally is, but I do know that we've been selling out. I've been very pleased, because we had, as Market Basket had agreed to put the books in their supermarkets and in the greater Lowell area. And they've been selling through those, so we're going to do a refeed on those things as well. We have them in our downtown, the Middlesex bookstore on Middle Street. We sold out there. We've done a restocking there. We have them in our Bedford campus as well. But most of the sales have been generated online. We created a site at the college. It's www.middlesex.edu/Sully. And if you go to that, you'll be able to purchase the book online, we've been getting book sales from other states, from Maryland, from South Carolina, from New York, because they found out, we figured out pretty early that electronically was going to be the way that people would hear about this. So we have it on different websites. WCAP has it on their website. The Lowell Sun has it on their website. And a lot of our partners are helping to link the website from their website so that people can go there. They can purchase the book, they can make a donation directly to the scholarship fund if they want, or they can make a donation to the Leadership Institute as well. So there's 3 different giving options, but hopefully they'll buy the book and they'll get a kick out of it.
I think it's a great gift to give someone for the holidays, for a birthday, because it's historical of Lowell, it's historical of the country. In the back of the book, WBZ was kind enough to put a CD together of about an hour of Paul while he was on WBZ. Right. So Patrick Cook, Executive Director of Public Affairs, thank you for joining us today.
It was a blast working with you on this one. So.
You scared me.
We survived it.
This was not an easy project. It was too close to my heart. It was too emotional for me, and you kept me on an even keel, and you loved that deadline mode of being back in the newsroom.
That's right.
But I hope everyone will pick up a copy, because it's our job now to get this coffee table book on everyone's coffee table in the region.
We'll start with this one right here.
Start with this one right here. You'll see it on this table from now on. Sully, The Words, Wit, and Wisdom of Paul Sullivan. Pick it up at a local Market Basket or online at middlesex.mass.edu/Sully. Thank you, Patrick.
It was a blast.
We'll be back after these short messages. At Middlesex Community College, you can save a fortune on a priceless education. Call 1-800-818-3434 or online at www.middlesex.mass.edu. It's our business to help your business. The Middlesex Community College Business and Industry Programs customizes corporate education and training. Call 1-888-622-2400. Get on the fast track to your future at Middlesex Community College Weekend College. Earn a business or early childhood degree today. Call 1-800-818-3434. Did you know Middlesex Community College has a dental hygiene clinic? We offer a full range of services at greatly reduced rates. Stop by the clinic at 44 Middle Street in Lowell or call for an appointment at 978-656-3250. Get connected by following Middlesex Community College on Twitter, like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and stay up to date with the MCC blog. Welcome back to MCC Connects. Joining me now is Jonathan Crockett, Coordinator of Athletics, Health and Wellness at Middlesex Community College. Thank you for joining me, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me today.
So I'd like to start by telling us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up at Middlesex Community College? What is your background?
Great question. I, for a number of years, worked as a residence hall director at several different colleges, and so that was my experience in working on a college campus, working with students. I ended up kind of burning out with that position after a while, needed to take a break, and my wife got a teaching job in the area, so we moved to Lowell. And a couple of years after living here, there was a position opened at Middlesex, and I decided to get back into the college business again. So
tell us, what kind of athletics does Middlesex Community College offer?
Absolutely. We have a really interesting dynamic for our students at Middlesex. We don't actually have our own athletic facilities, but what we have is a partnership with UMass Lowell. And it's great because for us it allows us to participate in the intramurals program at UMass Lowell. We assemble teams of students from Middlesex and then go over to the UMass Lowell facilities to play in their intramurals program.
Do you coach all of these teams?
Thank you for asking that. We actually have a really great situation where we invite faculty and staff to volunteer as either coaches or advisors for the team. And it's really a wonderful way to get faculty and staff sort of out of their regular roles, either in the classrooms or in their offices, engaged with students in a different context. So we have Deborah Botker is one of our faculty on campus. She's coached the soccer teams now for about 3 years. Chris Parcella works in the enrollment office. He coaches our basketball, men's basketball. Jessica Taverdi coaches our women's basketball team. We have Joanna Delmonico, who has worked with the hockey team for a number of years. I would say seven years she's been with that team. And all of these are volunteer positions, so it's faculty staff giving up their time to support these teams.
Does a student have to pay for the athletics?
It depends on the team the team or the program they're with. For intramurals, it's free. For hockey, they do have a fee. It's actually a $400 fee, which for anyone who's played hockey before knows that that's remarkably inexpensive.
Yes, it is.
We pay $240 an hour for ice time, so the $400 per player doesn't go very far.
So let's talk about some of the other health and wellness programs that
Absolutely.
you offer beyond the athletics. So tell us about some of those.
We have some great annual events that we offer, and the idea with some of these events is to provide opportunities for our campus community and also the local community to get together for these events that are in part social and community building, but also with a focus on health and wellness. We just actually last Saturday had it was our third annual Fitness Trail 5K Challenge.
Right.
That's on the Bedford campus. And it's a 5K trail race that goes out in part on the Bedford Rail Trail. It's also on part of our Middlesex Fitness Trail, which is out in the woods. It's a beautiful, beautiful trail system. And we get folks out there to either run, walk, jog, however they want to complete the 5K of that event.
And that was the third annual event.
It's our third annual, yes.
And what is the cost and where does the money go?
It's a great question. The cost is, so this year it was $25 for faculty, staff, and community members, and we offered a $10 price for Middlesex students.
Oh, that's great.
All of the proceeds for that go to the MCC Foundation, which really goes back to students in a variety of different ways.
Okay. So what happens after? So that's the fall event, the 5K.
Yes, so in the spring now, we are coming up on our third annual bike challenge, which is another great event.
One that I enjoy.
I know you love that, and we appreciate your involvement every year. With the bike challenge, we offer two different ride distances. There's a 10-mile ride and a 40-mile ride. And the 10-mile ride goes through much of Bedford, the town of Bedford, and then the 40-mile ride goes through a number of local towns, including Carlisle and Bedford and Concord, I believe.
Yes, it's a beautiful ride.
Beautiful ride.
I've met folks at other bike events in the area who have done it just because they love how beautiful it is.
Absolutely.
And it's a great time of the year. It's always in June.
Yes, and we've had good weather for both events so far every year. One of the great things really about both of those events is that we get a lot of community members involved, folks that maybe didn't know much about Middlesex, who come to our campus and they're able to see the space that we have and are able to participate in some of these programs, and it really helps kind of bring us as an institution together with the community, and to me that's one of the most rewarding things.
And both are very inexpensive, and the money that is raised goes to the foundation, and the foundation offers scholarships to all the students at Middlesex Community College. Thank you, Jonathan Crockett.
Yes.
Coordinator of Athletics, Health, and Wellness at Middlesex Community College. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned for more MCC Connects. At Middlesex Community College, you can save a fortune on a priceless education. Call 1-800-818-3434 or online at www.middlesex.mass.edu. Host your next special event or group meeting at one of Middlesex Community College's 2 exquisite historic homes. Call 978-458-3722. Lowell Middlesex Academy Charter School is a public high school catering to students who have left school prior to graduation. Call 978-656-3165. Middlesex Institute for Lifelong Education for Seniors offers fascinating courses, intellectual stimulation, and friendship for older adults. Call 1-800-818-3434. Sully, The Words, Wit, and Wisdom of Paul Sullivan, a new hardcover book that celebrates the life of the late Paul Sullivan, an accomplished talk show host, Lowell Sun political editor and columnist, and MCC faculty member. All proceeds from the sale of the book will go to the Paul Sullivan Scholarship Fund. Pick up your copy today at your local market basket or go to www.middlesex.mass.edu/Sully. At Middlesex Community College, you can save a fortune on a priceless education. Call 1-800-818-3434 or online at www.middlesex.mass.edu. Welcome back to MCC Connects. I'm now joined by Marge Rack, who is Professor of Art in the Humanities Department at Middlesex Community College. Welcome, Marge.
Thank you.
You're here to talk about a really exciting new project or landmark in the city of Lowell that I actually have already had the pleasure of visiting. And it's a new Cambodian kiln. And it's over on Aiken Street in
That's
Lowell.
correct, yeah.
And it was in partnership with the Lowell Public Schools and the National Historic Park. But before we get there, let me ask you, Marge Rack, a little bit about tell us a little bit about you. How did you end up at Middlesex Community College? What is your background?
Okay. Well, I studied art in college. I actually started when I was probably like 12 years old, you know, and I always knew I wanted to be an artist. And I went to museum school in Boston, and then went out in the world and tried to make it as an artist, and years later found myself teaching as an adjunct both at museum school and at Middlesex in the evening for a long time. And then a wonderful opportunity opened up for a full-time position at Middlesex 8 years ago, and I was thrilled to be able to come to Middlesex.
How did you get involved, and how did the Cambodian Kiln come to Lowell?
Mr. Yari Levan had just in the past year come to the U.S. seeking asylum, political asylum, and he's this amazing ceramist. And people had quickly noticed, and I don't quite know how that connection happened, but within no time he was at Harvard Ceramics doing a visiting artist residency there, producing volumes and volumes of the most amazing ceramics as a visiting artist. And so I took 2 Khmer-speaking youth with me, and we went to meet him, because he didn't even speak English yet. And it was kind of just love, you know. He was doing a big demonstration. He was carving an apsara, the celestial dancer, about 5 feet long and 3 feet wide, a big panel that he was going to cut into tiles. And all of the Harvard ceramists and community ceramists were diligently watching. But my 2 girls were having a little conversation in Khmer with him on the side, you know, as he's working. And so they just connected. And we asked him if he'd work with us, and we were so thrilled when he said yes.
One of the special things or the uniqueness of this kiln is it's smokeless.
Yes, yes. So that was another part of our journey. Through Harvard University, we met a Japanese ceramist, potter, kiln builder, who actually built a smokeless wood-fired kiln for Harvard in partnership with Nobles and Greenough School in Dedham. And so we met Mr. Kusakabe and visited the kiln there when he fired it. And it's amazing, you know. You burn 2 cords of wood and no smoke comes out of the chimney.
I mean, you can kind of see the heat because there is heat, just the way the heat just
but no smoke.
No smoke.
Yeah.
And I would think that had it produced smoke, you probably would have come up against a lot of
would have been a little more difficult, especially in an urban area.
Yeah, urban and in the environment today. People don't want smoke going. So what a wonderful...
So yeah, people kept saying, I don't know, you're going to have to put a scrubber afterburner in that chimney. And we're saying, no, really it's going to work, you know. So Mr. Prung made the original drawings based on the wood-fired kiln that they had used in Cambodia.
I was able to go to the wonderful ribbon cutting. It was a beautiful ceremony that they had a prayer dancer, and it was just a wonderful, had nice food, and I got to see the kiln actually work. So you brought 2 pieces along with you today. Tell us about these.
Yeah. So this one is what we call a pedestal vase, and it's a very classical shape. So you would find this shape in 12th century examples at the height of the Angkor period of the Cambodian culture, right? So pieces like this would be unearthed at Angkor Wat. And you'll see them in the National Museum, you know. So they, in the narrow about foot here, and then it narrows here and then flares with carving all around here. This is also a classic piece. Also would date back to the same period because Mr. Yari and Mr. Prung are traditional artists, so they continue the ancient forms. Very engaging animal shape, you know, this little elephant.
Magnificent.
Yeah,
look at the work on there, the detail. Where can folks, you have a blog?
We have a blog, yes, and it's connected to Middlesex's website. So if you go to Middlesex's website and you just search Cambodian Kiln, it'll bring you to the art department's page. And then under special projects, you'll find our blog. And you can see you can see me in Cambodia meeting Mr. Prung. You can go way back there, or you can see the first bricks laid. We started the project this summer. You know, all the way to, you can see the artists carving the pots, and then unloading the kiln at the end.
Well, Marge Rack, thank you so much. This was so enlightening and so educational, and I'm very excited. We'll have you back maybe in the spring or next year at this time, and we'll see where the kiln has brought us.
Oh, that'd be great.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of MCC Connects. Stay tuned each month so that you too can stay connected to Middlesex Community College.